everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Vulnerability Hangover Podcast. I'm your host, Nikki, and today's conversation hits close to home for me. I'm honored to be joined by my dear childhood friend, Tessa, who is navigating a courageous battle against Adrenal Cortical Carcinoma. Tessa's journey is inspiring, having discovered her diagnosis at a young age while pregnant. In a truly heart-wrenching journey, she shares with us her choice to continue her pregnancy amidst adversity in the last 3 years as she confronts this relentless cancer with unwavering determination and grace. This conversation holds a special place in my heart, and if you're tuning in for just one episode of this podcast, let this be the one. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Vulnerability Hangover Podcast. I'm your host, Nikki, and today's conversation hits close to home for me. I'm honored to be joined by my dear childhood friend, Tessa, who is navigating a courageous battle against Adrenal Cortical Carcinoma. Tessa's journey is inspiring, having discovered her diagnosis at a young age while pregnant. In a truly heart-wrenching journey, she shares with us her choice to continue her pregnancy amidst adversity in the last 3 years as she confronts this relentless cancer with unwavering determination and grace. This conversation holds a special place in my heart, and if you're tuning in for just one episode of this podcast, let this be the one. Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Vulnerability Hangover Podcast. I'm Nikki, and I'm here with Tessa. Welcome. Do you have any affirmation you would like to share with us?
I don't know if it's really an affirmation, but my favorite thing is love yourself first, because that's who you'll be spending the rest of your life with.
I absolutely love that. I feel like that's an affirmation. Can you start by telling the listeners a bit about yourself and your journey with ACC?
Yeah, so I'm 26 now, but in December of 2020, I was pregnant with my son, Malachi, and I started having some crazy symptoms that were getting marked up to pregnancy. I was about 16 weeks. I was having super high blood pressure, crazy weight gain, acne, super high heart rate, things that typically you would see later on in a pregnancy, not early pregnancy. I was in and out of the emergency room, and I knew something was wrong. Like, I could feel something was wrong. My mom knew something was wrong. Everybody knew something was wrong. The doctors knew something was wrong. But they were chalking it up to my pregnancy. There was this one ER doctor. I love her. I don't remember her name. She wanted to keep me so bad. She wanted to keep me overnight for observation, and labor and delivery was like, her pregnancy's not even viable. There's nothing that we can do for her. Send her home. After they sent me home, I was sobbing, and my family jokes about what my mom did. We call it the letter. She got on my chart and reamed everybody. She wrote this long letter and was like, my daughter needs a perinatologist. I think she has Cushing's syndrome. My mom had been on Google doing all my symptoms, like everything going on. And as soon as she did that and started mentioning suing people for medical negligence, things happened really, really fast. And I want to say within a month, by the time I was 19 weeks pregnant, maybe 18 weeks pregnant, I was going in for surgery to have what they found was a 9-centimeter tumor growing on my adrenal gland. And that's the very beginning. That's where it started. And that happened within 4 or 5 weeks, and little did I know that would change my entire life for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank God for Mama.
She was a medical assistant for a really long time. She also worked in labor and delivery. I don't know what it's called, but when you would get a C-section, she would be in the room. I'm not fresh up on my Grey's Anatomy. But she's worked in the medical field my entire life. So if it wasn't for her and her mommy tingling senses and going into mama bear mode, I don't know. Because I was also writing it off as, oh, I'm just pregnant. But things like high blood pressure and stuff like if it was preeclampsia, stuff like that, that doesn't happen as early as my symptoms started in my pregnancy.
Right. And were your symptoms different from your first pregnancy at all, or?
Wait, so I feel like the pregnancy part was so easy.
Mm-hmm.
I was so sick with my daughter. With my first pregnancy, I was so sick the whole entire time. But with my son, it was more, the symptoms were rapid weight gain. I had such bad acne everywhere. I was rapidly gaining weight. I had an endless amount of hunger, which was related to something that I had called Cushing's disease, which happens when you have too much. My body was producing like, I want to say it was like 17 times the amount of cortisol that you should have in your body. So my body was just constantly stressing itself out. My one adrenal gland had cancer all over it, which we didn't know was cancer. And then my other adrenal gland was working overdrive to support what the other one wasn't doing. And it's crazy because with this cancer, 1 in a million people are diagnosed with it, and it's hormonal cancer. And I don't want to be statistical, but I have not heard of anybody, and my doctors had not heard of anybody who was pregnant while having this cancer, because it's hormonal. It's crazy that I was even able to conceive in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
This little boy was meant to be here.
Yeah. So we kind of went over how you first found out about your diagnosis, but can you share some insights into the treatment process and how it affected your daily life?
Yeah. I went through that very first surgery when I was pregnant with my son, and that is where it altered my mind for the rest of my life, to have to sit down at 22 years old and say, okay, I'm about to go into this surgery to save my own life. I have this baby inside of me that is moving, that has a heartbeat. He has a name. And if something goes wrong in this surgery and it's me or him, having to pick yourself over your own child. That was the first part that, through cancer, that really altered my mind. But we both came out on the other side. That was our first obstacle together.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the ICU after that surgery for about 5 or 6 days. I went into full-blown labor, but they were able to stop it. He tried to come one time, and I was 19 weeks, so he wouldn't have been viable. That was the biggest thing, but it was only safe to do it before 20 weeks, or he would have been too big. So we made it through that together, and then it was just recovering from that surgery, being overweight, going through the Cushing's, all that stuff. At that point, we just thought I had a tumor removed. I didn't know I had cancer. That surgery was September 11th of 2020, and I think it was 2 weeks. I don't even remember the day. I remember sitting on the couch, and the surgeon called me, and he said, hey, we got your pathology results. And I was like, oh, okay. My daughter's screaming in the background. It's peak COVID. My husband's working in Bend through all of this. We're living in Beaverton. He's working in Bend to keep a roof over our heads and stay working. So my grandmother, my Nana, was living with me while he was out of town, because I couldn't even walk. The muscles in my legs had atrophied so bad from just everything. The Cushing's really does a number on you. Even my nurses would come in and they would be like, we've read about this and heard about this in medical school, but I've never seen it in real life. So it's really also pretty rare, I guess. But he called and he was like, I have your pathology results. And I wasn't even thinking about pathology. I was like, oh, you took a tumor out, da-da-da-da-da. Like, we're good now. I'm going to get better. I just have this Cushing's and that's going to get under control. And I just remember it was so loud, and he was like, yeah, so it came back and it was cancer. And I was just like, oh, okay. Okay. And he's like, do you have any questions? And I was like, no, like, all right. Like, it didn't click to me. Like, I didn't have like that moment. I just called my mom and I was like, yeah, and he said it was cancer. And she like started sobbing, and I was like, why are people crying? Like, nothing was like absorbing. I wasn't feeling it. And so then I was about 22 weeks pregnant at that point, because it was about 2 weeks after the surgery, and they were pushing me. They were like, everything everybody's read is like, this cancer is so aggressive. It is so aggressive. They were like, you need to terminate the pregnancy and start treatment. They pressured me from 22 weeks to 26 weeks to get an abortion with Malachi. And I just kept saying no. I was like, there's no way. I didn't even sit down and talk to my husband about it. It was going in one ear and coming out the other. It wasn't an option. I was willing to go through whatever I had to go through. I wasn't terminating this pregnancy it's a miracle pregnancy at that. So they were like, okay, well then we'll just start your treatment. The perinatologist, which is like a special OB, she's like, okay, the soonest we can deliver you is at 34 weeks, which put us at December 11th of 2020. And I was like, okay. And so they were like, we'll deliver you, and then you'll start treatment right after you deliver. Like, that, we'll do that. And so I just lived in La La Land, big, huge, and pregnant. And then I got COVID. And my husband got COVID. And my daughter got COVID. And it was the weekend that I was supposed to give birth at 34 weeks. And I was so sick from my being compromised from being pregnant. I still was recovering from this Cushing, so I was still overweight and just having so many symptoms from having cancer. My oxygen was super low. I had a fever, all things COVID. And so I had to make the decision that it was safest to get the baby out of me. So I packed my bag. I left my husband and my 2.5-year-old at home, and I drove to the hospital all by myself to give birth. So sick, so scared. Didn't even know what to do. I called my mom sobbing. Coincidentally, my mom had just been laid off. Like, she was laid off, and she didn't know why. And I was telling you earlier, like, I'm a firm believer everything happens for a reason. And so they let my mom come. She slept in full PPE, head to toe, goggles, mask, face shield, the yellow suit, like full PPE. They let her be with me while I labored through the night. I got there on the 10th, and then on the 11th, it was time for me to push, and they kept changing the restrictions. They'd never had somebody with COVID give birth there yet, so they didn't know what to do. So infectious disease kept changing the rules, and so eventually they said, okay, nobody can be in here while you push, because we don't know what's gonna happen, whatever. And my son was gonna have to go to the NICU right away, and I didn't want him to go there alone. So I was like, I can do this. I can take care of me, but I don't want my baby to be by himself. So my mom left the room, got my husband on FaceTime, and I gave birth all by myself with my husband on FaceTime. At first they said that I could touch him, but the second they brought him out, they held him like right here in front of me, more in front of my stomach. And they said, look at your baby, and took him out of the room instantly, and he was gone. And I gave birth on December 11th, and I didn't touch him, meet him, hold him, kiss him until December 21st.
Ugh, I'm so sorry. That is so traumatic.
Yeah, I had no connection with him because even through my pregnancy, it was really, they pressuring me to get an abortion, not knowing what was going to happen during the surgeries. I just tried so hard not to be attached to the pregnancy, and then being apart from him, getting no bonding time with him. But the week and a half that he was in the NICU, my mom was able to be with him the entire time. So I was super thankful for that. And then when he was released, he went home with her. And then I saw him on December 21st, and then we had a white Christmas at my mom's. So it was nice, but that was the first leap. And then I started oral chemo shortly after that. And that was hard. The oral chemo and just being diagnosed with cancer, I thought my life was over. I was so depressed. I was so depressed. The first couple years were so hard. I was on this oral chemo. I was a new mom. All the postpartum things, and just like all things cancer. So then September comes back around. Malachi's 9 months old, and I'm hitting my 1 year mark of my first surgery, and they say my scans had been clear. I was getting scanned every 3 months. They were like, your scans have been clear. If your scan is clear at your 1 year scan, the statistics of it coming back drop down so low. But if it comes back, if you do have something, then you're probably going to have reoccurrences. So I get this scan, I go in, and my hopes are high. I'm like, I've had clear scans. I'm feeling like shit, but I'm taking these pills that are so hard to choke down and make me feel so sick, but I'm doing it. I have that scan, and I have a tumor. I was like, okay. And there's 2 treatments that they say work the best for this kind of cancer. Mitotane, which is the chemo pill that I don't tolerate well. I don't think I follow a single person that tolerates the Mitotane well. And surgery. So from 2020 to 2023, every year I had a reoccurrence, and I've had surgeries. I've had 3 surgeries. The first one in 2020, 2021, on November 29th, I had a really major surgery. They cut me from about right underneath my chest bone down to my belly button, over around to my side. 2022, 2020, 2021, 2022, I had surgery on December 7th. I was gifted a trip, my dream trip to New York City. So I was in New York living my absolute best life, and came back the next day, had surgery. I was like, okay, like my mindset at this point with having recurrences, I was still just like, I wasn't living my life. I was stuck in this headspace of feeling sorry for myself. I was weak, and I just wish I would have known what was coming. I get so upset with myself that I didn't take advantage of those 3 years with the reoccurrences and taken that Mitotane with a grain of salt, knowing what was coming for me. So December 7th, I had surgery. It went good. I was home a couple days later. Malachi turned 2, and I was having such bad pain still. And I was like, I'm no stranger to abdominal pain anymore. Like, I've had so many surgeries, but this just isn't right. And so I went to the emergency room. They did a scan, And actually tomorrow, the 15th, is when I went in. So I had the surgery December 7th, and on December 15th, I went in and had the scan, and it showed, so all my, I guess I need to backtrack a little bit. All my reoccurrences were in the same spot. Your adrenal glands sit on top of your kidneys, right above your kidneys, and my tumors have always grown right next to my left kidney. That's every time they've gone in, it's gotten harder because I have so much scar tissue in there. It's so sticky in there. It's so much scar tissue. But all my tumors have been right there, able to be removed from the same spot. I get the scan, and 2 weeks after I just went through this surgery and radiation, I left that out. I did do a round of radiation, which was really difficult as well. It makes you so sick. It hurts not getting actual radiation, but you get radiation burn, all this stuff. I have done radiation. I can't place with what surgery, but I did do radiation. And on December 15th of 2022, my cancer just took off. I had 2 weeks prior, they removed the tumors. I was clear. And then all of a sudden I had like 5 tumors on my liver. So now I have stage 4 metastatic adrenal cancer. And then it gets real. They call me the night before Christmas Eve on December 23rd and say, hey, January 3rd, you're going to start intense IV chemotherapy. You're going to lose your hair. These are the symptoms you're going to experience, all things, the day before Christmas Eve. I was like, wow, like, okay. So I just pushed through with the worst panic attacks, and I started these treatments January 3rd of this year. And there's not a single word to explain what those chemicals do to your mind. All I could say every day was, I feel like my brain has been poisoned. I couldn't think. I was so sick. My body hurt. I was bald. I felt so ugly. Like, on top of feeling like crap, you also go through such an identity crisis. You don't know who you are. You've lost everything, even your dignity, because I couldn't shower myself. I had to get a shower chair, and I would just sit under the water in the shower and sob in pain forever. And my husband would have to dry me off and just put me back in bed. I then decided I can't do this. Like, I was like, this isn't a way to live. If my scan comes back not responding to this, like, I can't do it. I cannot do it. And I went into this terrified of death. My entire life, death has been the scariest thing for me. I have always been very afraid of what is after life. And then having kids also, that really, then it turned into more of a, what's gonna happen? Like, I felt bad for my kids. I stopped feeling bad for myself, and I started feeling bad for my kids, and that was a different kind of pain. My scan came back after doing 4 days a week, 8 to 10 hour days, and getting chemo. And then we had a snowstorm, and I got stuck downtown Portland during a snowstorm. And after chemo, we had to ditch our car and get on the Max at Goose Hollow right after I had treatment. I'm not ready to go out in the snow. I'm in some Crocs. It was just, everything that could go wrong went wrong. My scans weren't getting better. My tumors were getting worse. Every scan, I had more tumors. I have tumors all over my liver. I have them all over my lungs. Yeah, I have like 5 in one lung, 4 in another lung. I have at least 10 on my liver. Then I was doing this chemo that I thought I was handling it better. I stopped the super bad ones. I was getting 3 different types of chemo. One of them was red, and it made your tears red, your pee red, your saliva, like they call it the red devil. It's used mostly for breast cancer patients. Traumatizing. I hate the color red. I had specific clothes that I would wear to get treatment and that were just super comfy. I had to throw them away. I can't look at them. I don't have them anymore. I had to have everything that I would take to treatment thrown in the garbage. Mm-hmm. But I was doing a treatment that I thought that I could tolerate. I had to do these shots with it to boost my white blood cell count, and I ended up getting neutropenic. Basically, it's when you don't have anything in your body. The way I understand it is you don't have anything in your body to fight off infection. So even the bacteria on your tongue can give you an infection. Like, they can't figure out what kind of infection you have, but you got something. You got a fever, you're in pain. So I was in the hospital for 8 days with that one. 8 days, neutropenic. I was getting blood transfusions, platelets. My nose wouldn't stop bleeding. I was in so much pain. These shots that they were giving me to make my white blood cell count go up, it brings it from your bones. So it makes the worst bone pain you've ever felt in your entire life. And I've broken some bones in my lifetime. Broken a lot of bones, but that was like nothing I've ever felt before. Mm-hmm. But then that one ended up not even working. Had 4 tumors, grew more tumors. It's just a repetitive cycle. I had the best support system, though. I had one of my childhood friends, she does Reiki. She would come to the cancer center and just try and clean the energy around me and calm me, and everybody was doing anything they possibly could to help me get through, just to get by. At that point, I was involved with palliative care, which is a step before hospice. And they told me I had 6 months. Nothing was working. We were at the end of our treatment options. They were like, if you stop everything, like, no more pain, no more treatments, no more doing all this, like, we would say you have about, at the rate the cancer was going, even with treatment, you have about 6 months to live, and you should go take trips, go live your life, go do things. And that was what I needed to, because I was ready. I was so ready to give up. I was done. I hurt so bad. I still, to this day, I'm in a lot of pain, but I hurt so bad. And there's just no words to describe going through every single emotion of mourning your own life. Living through mourning your own life. Not, I've mourned who I used to be. I've mourned what could be. I've mourned that I'm gonna miss, my daughter get married and graduate high school and have boyfriends and do all these things. I've gone through sadness. I've gone through anger. I sit in the bottom of the shower where nobody can hear me. I blast music and I just lose it. I've gone through it all, and now it's like I can breathe. I've gone through all those phases, and I've just accepted that this is the life that's been handed to me. And I was like, it lit a fire under my ass, because I was like, you know what? No. Like, what's next? If I'm gonna go out, if anybody's watching this and they know me, I am a fighter, and I'm going to fight, and I'm gonna go out fighting. I'm not gonna just stop. So I was like, okay, what do we have next? And we fought Kaiser to be able to go outside and get a second opinion from a doctor in Michigan. And he gave us this regimen of this, it's a pill. It's called Cabometyx, and they gave me the strongest dose of it that you can get. It's to treat kidney cancer. And my hair started growing back. I was tolerating it super well. I got my first result that said that my cancer was responding to treatment 3 months after I was given 6 months to live. And I was like, okay, I think I can do this. And then I was having pain. And so not that long ago, maybe a month ago, I went and had a scan, and it showed that things had grown a little bit, and that's what was causing my pain. But I've decided to stay a little delulu, and that didn't happen. And my official scan is on the 29th of this month. But I'm just mad at 2020 me and 2021 me and 2022 me for not taking advantage of life the way I should have, knowing what 2023 me had to endure, because I would have done so much more. So much more. I would have pushed through so much harder and not laid in bed so depressed, like, poor me. This is my life. This is the cards I've been handed. Like, I'm so mad that I didn't enjoy those better times.
Mm-hmm. But you are doing it now. I'm all for Delulu, manifestation, all that kind of stuff. It's gonna go great. But I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. No one should have to go through that in their 20s, let alone their lifetime. Fuck you, cancer. Like, 2 middle fingers and then some to you. How's your perspective on life changed since your experience with ACC?
My perspective is say yes. Say yes to everything and anything. Get uncomfortable. Get so uncomfortable and grow and take life by the balls.
Mm-hmm.
That is so cheesy, so corny, but just fucking do it. My friend and I, we're going to Canada in March just because I want to go to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I am all for it. Like, if you want to do it, budget it, make it work, go on the trip. Take the damn trip.
Mm-hmm.
Book the ticket and take the trip. Have the drink. Eat the burger. Like, eat what you want. Cancer does not discriminate. Mm-hmm. It does not discriminate. You can eat salad every single day, and you can still fuck around and catch case cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So just live your life and be more positive than I was in the beginning. I wish I had the mindset I do now as I did when I was first diagnosed. Mm-hmm. I really do. It sucks that this last year going through what I went through is what had to light the fire under my ass to just start saying, fuck it, like, I'm gonna do everything, I'm gonna do it all. I wish I would have started sooner. Right now, I'm not cured. Just because things have slowed down, cancer is cancer and it's going to take off when it wants to take off. And I could stay stable for a long time, but I'll never be cancer free. And my liver is taking a huge beating from it. Everything I'm doing right now is just buying me time. And I'm cherishing every single second of that time by saying yes.
Have you become involved in any advocacy or awareness efforts related to ACC or cancer in general?
I have not. I want to try to start getting more involved. There's one nonprofit in particular that I would like to try and start doing more for and with. Because ACC, in the beginning, if you caught my rambling, 1 in a million people are diagnosed each year, I want to say. It's so rare that there's only, I want to say, 4 special doctors that really, really know about this cancer and who have dedicated their time to doing research and stuff on it, since it's so rare. This is step 1 of getting it out there of what ACC even is. And I'm extremely lucky with how slow mine started. Usually by the time people catch it and get diagnosed, it's way too late. So advocate, 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 push, push, push on the medical care system.
We'll be sure to link anything that we can for our audience to read up on it, and definitely advocate for themselves as well if they feel like they're experiencing symptoms. What message or advice would you like to share with others who may be going through a similar experience?
Lean on your friends. I pushed everyone away for those first few years. I pushed a lot of people away. I didn't leave my house. I didn't do anything. I did not want to hang out with anybody. None of that. And that's when my mental health was at the absolute worst. And when I finally started letting my friends come around, and when everyone really rallied around me right before and during my treatments that started this year that were the toughest, it makes all the difference. And it's so hard when people say, what do you need? You're like, oh, I don't need anything. I'm okay. Take the help. I don't know if humble is the right word, but I had people cleaning my house, taking care of my kids, bringing food, anything that finally sounded good to me, and it sounded good to me, I would put it out there. Somebody would come through with it. And it made them happy. I felt like such a burden. Such a burden. My poor husband I felt so bad that he had to not only work, but take care of me, take care of 2 kids. He didn't sign up to take care of me. We signed up to take care of this life together. And feeling like a burden is the worst feeling ever. But what I learned is everybody feels thankful and grateful to help you. They want to come lay in bed, and I had one friend, she would come work, she would come sit on her laptop and work and sit in my bed and watch me sleep, and it just made me feel better that somebody was there with me. So even if it's just that, it makes them feel good, and it's worth it.
Community is super important. I think that is a huge reason why a lot of us thrive to this day when we go through situations like that.
I just went on Instagram and I started typing in adrenal cortical carcinoma, and I just started looking through and trying to find other people who had it and adding them and following them and seeing their stories and reaching out to them and talking to them, because that is one thing that's really hard. Is I'm in such a weird bracket in the cancer community because I'm so young, and then I am also a mom, which that doesn't matter. Cancer doesn't discriminate. Lots of people are moms, but nobody in my circle, I guess I should say, could understand what I was going through. My husband, friends, people my age that I surround myself with, nobody knows what I'm going through. So going out and finding people that know what you're going through is immensely helpful, and I wish I would have done it a lot sooner as well, because I didn't start looking for other people or try to attend support groups or anything like that until this past year, and I wish I would have done that a lot sooner as well.
So, who or what inspired you the most during your recovery process?
I think, honestly, I would have to say my kids. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. There's no way I would have been able to endure what I endured knowing that they weren't depending on me. They were my biggest motivation, push, all of it.
Mm-hmm. Are there any particular stories or individuals in the cancer community that have left a lasting effect on you?
There's this one girl that I follow on Instagram. She doesn't have the same cancer as me, but she's a mom with cancer. Her Instagram, Tia B. Stokes or something like that. She also was diagnosed in 2020. She has leukemia, which is like blood cancer. Just her positivity. She was so positive. It still is positive. The best outlook on life. I would just watch her stuff and be like, if she can do this and be so positive and have 5 kids, I think she has 5 kids. And I only have 2. But I was just like, if I could just be as little bit, as much positive as this girl is, and she's thriving, then just maybe it's possible. So when you're in the midst of a mental breakdown or a panic attack and people just tell you like, oh, stay positive, you gotta stay positive. I think somebody telling me that I need to stay positive tears me apart inside. I'm just like, if I could stay positive, I would. Because staying positive, it's so hard. It is so hard to not lay there and think. Your mind is your worst enemy during cancer. The things that I've done, I have an envelope that has my wishes written down in it. I have things set aside for my daughter, things set aside for my son. I have letters in my notes that I've just been up sick all night, and I've written letters to each one of my family members. I have this journal that my friend Michaela got me, and you just write about your whole life in it. What was for my kids? So it's like, what was middle school like for you, or elementary school? You know, who were your friends? What did you like to do? And just like so much self-reflection. So much self-reflection. And I get so emotional about it all the time. I can't believe I'm staying put together right now. But some people can just be really nasty. Nobody has been nasty towards me, but I have seen things where people are nasty, and I'm just like, internet warrior, you.
You have no idea.
The people, the things that they can say online, and they haven't been through it, like, it's astonishing. My biggest thing is like people who think that you can get cancer because you ate wrong or something like that. It's just, it blows my mind.
Yeah, then explain how newborn babies can have cancer.
Yeah.
They ate their mom's breast milk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand people.
And I can even Malachi, I couldn't even breastfeed him because I started treatment right after, and it was that pill form which would have gone through to my milk, which is another thing. Like the nurses that were so insensitive to my situation. It's like if they would have just read about it, like read my chart or my file or asked me, but because I had COVID, it was like I was like, screw me. They pressured me so hard to pump, and I was like, I don't want my milk to come in. I breastfed my daughter till she was a year and a half exactly. And I was really crushed that I wouldn't be able to breastfeed my son. But for the nurses to come in and pressure me, they're like, oh, well, just pump what you can. I'm like, yeah, but I don't want my milk to come in because that hurts.
Yeah.
I don't want to make it come in to just have to make it go away shortly. They were just so insensitive to the fact. And I was like, I'm starting cancer treatment. And they were like, well, you could do it for just a little bit. And I'm like, my body, my choice.
Exactly.
And they left me in the postpartum room. Nobody would come in and check on me. They would call the phone. Would be like, hey, do you need anything?
You're like, I'm staring at a wall. I'm fine.
I'm fine. I'm just in here without my kid who's down in the NICU. And I'm so sick. Like, yeah, no, I'm fine. I just gave birth and I'm super sick and I'm in here by myself. But don't worry about me. Just give me a call.
Yeah, good riddance. Fuck 2020 as a whole. Well, honestly, the last years of the pandemic. Fuck that.
Yeah, it was brutal.
As we wrap up, is there anything else you would like to share with our listeners, whether it's about your journey, the importance of awareness, or any other projects that you're working on currently?
I would say it can happen to anybody. And just circling back to advocate for yourself and push these doctors and do your research and hit them with facts. That's what my mom did. I can't take credit for that at all. You have to push and push and push, unfortunately, and do your research and doctor surf if you have to. Thankfully, I didn't have to doctor surf. An endocrinologist caught my case and she was on it so fast, and my surgeons have been amazing. Everybody, all my doctors and my support have been amazing, but I know for a lot of people it's not like that. So just really pushing and advocating, and if something's not right with your body, push until you get an answer, because you never know. And if it's not cancer, there's so many other invisible illnesses. And I felt like my cancer was an invisible illness for a long time. Like, people didn't understand. Just because you're not bald doesn't mean that you don't have cancer. I feel like that's a huge stigma around cancer. It's like, oh, well, you're not bald, so you must not be sick. You're just lazy or something like that. Like, you never know what someone's going through. Literally.
That's so true. Well, where can our listeners find you?
On Instagram, I am mommy_Tessa2. And on TikTok, I'm not a huge TikToker, but it's just at Tessa Nunley. And then if you want to know more about ACC, there is an ACC Warriors page on Instagram. It's just called ACC Warriors. And they have a website that's www.accwarriors.org, where you can find out more about adrenal cortical carcinoma.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story, and hopefully this helps someone out there who may be going through something similar or has someone in their life that's going through something similar like that. But yeah, until next time.
Thank you for coming on and letting me ramble for the last almost hour.
Absolutely.
Share my story on your platform.
Yeah.
It was really nice talking.
I want to express my deepest gratitude to our guest, Tessa, for sharing her story with such vulnerability and authenticity. Life's challenges may test us, but the human spirit's capacity for resilience is boundless. I hope this episode has touched your hearts and inspired you just as much as it did for me. Remember, sometimes we find our greatest strengths in the depths of vulnerability. Please share this episode with someone you know who could benefit from the powerful message Tessa shared with us today. Thank you for joining us again for another episode. Please make sure you like, rate, review, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to this podcast. I will catch you guys in the next episode. Okay, love you, bye!